Epic lights, soaring strings, and a legacy that moves millions every holiday season. I've got rock royalty with me today, and he reveals secrets behind one of the most successful arena shows of all time. And it's coming to a city near you.
When the curtain goes up, I wanted everybody to go, where is everybody? You know, and I want to continue that thought throughout the entirety of the concert. So musical installations we've never done before. We're actually tipping our hats to the Beethoven's Last Night collection this year for the first time ever in the Winter Tour, because we're celebrating the 25th anniversary of that.
This is Contagious Influences of America from the producers of Keep the Faith. I'm David Sands. As the holiday season draws near, few sounds capture its energy, emotion, and sheer power quite like the Trans-Siberian Orchestra. What began some 30 years ago as a bold vision by famed music producer Paul O'Neill to merge rock, classical, and storytelling, TSO has grown into one of the most beloved holiday traditions in America. Working alongside O'Neill in those early years was celebrated guitarist, musical director, and creative force Al Pitrelli, who later had big shoes to fill when in 2017 TSO creator O'Neill died. But as they say, the show must go on, and boy, has it ever. Al's journey spans playing with legends like Alice Cooper, Megadeth, and Savatage. But for millions of fans, it's his work with TSO that defines the magic of live event programming at Christmas. This year, the band brings the ghost of Christmas Eve back to life in a way that promises to be bigger, brighter, and more breathtaking than ever before. You can get your tickets right now for a town near you at TSOtickets.com. But first, my interview with Al Pitrelli.
This winter, experience the ultimate rock Christmas tradition. Trans-Siberian Orchestra, live in concert, presenting The Ghosts of Christmas Eve, the best of TSO and more. An awe-inspiring blend of rock, classical, and holiday music for the entire family. Don't miss this season's most exciting concert experience. Trans-Siberian Orchestra, coming to a city near you. Go to TSOtickets.com for info.
Hey Al, how you been, buddy?
Good, my friend. It's good to see you. How you been?
I've been good. Well, what a year it has been with all the changes going on in the world.
Yes. This ain't truth.
This AI thing. Hello?
We could spend weeks talking about this. It is what it is. I'm going to, like everything else, every other area of technology, I'm just going to avoid it all as much as I humanly can.
I mean, tell me what you're feeling as a longtime musician with all those gold and platinum records you have on your walls, where you put all that sweat equity into those things, all that grunt work, all that creativity, and now these guys are putting in a couple sentences and hitting a button. Mm-hmm. I mean, now by the way, I say that, but being a film director for almost 40 years. I also know that, we faced these challenges in the movie business because I remember where there was this big argument about it's not cinema unless it's film, and you can't do video.
Mm-hmm. Listen, I went through it on my side. Yeah, digital recording versus 2-inch tape, CDs versus records, LPs, But the only thing I can tell you about this whole AI thing is I have a very dear friend of mine who's a professor at Rutgers College who teaches in the science department. And he asked this class to do a paper on the pros and cons of AI. And they all used AI to generate the papers. There it is. And he said, I think he failed them all. Really, that's where we are now. Like, we're asking from both sides of this fence. We can remain conversive about it forever, but it's got an opinion. But they went to the topic of the conversation to generate the paper.
Right. And they probably all sounded the same.
Yeah. I got nothing. I swear.
But do you think that it's a, once we get past all the legalities of it, once we get past the, the sort of the novelty of it, do you think that it could genuinely be yet another tool in the toolbox?
I think so. I think that all technology has had the potential of serving well. There's a lot of things that came out of the internet, computers, all this stuff that are, it's advantageous for us to have. And of course, there's a dark side of it. Now you have the dark web, and you have all these predators and all these things that were supposed to be okay. Yeah, I think there's always going to be a give and take, and I think we have to try to do our best, as consumers or as parents or as grandparents or as families or whatever, to discern between the two sides and stay protected. I'm sure it's going to add some sort of benefit to our society. I hope.
Well, back in the day, I mean, you and I have been doing this for a while now, but back in the day when they had the synthesizers and these different, I guess it was probably the 80s, right? Yeah. How was it look? How were the addition of something like that? How was that viewed?
Well, the synthesizer itself was a fascinating new instrument with a whole new tonal palette. So if you go back to I'm going to say the early 70s, where Keith Emerson would have been at the forefront of using a synthesizer as a new voice. It's like, it sounds kind of cool, but he was playing it. There were buttons to turn and dials. The Moog, the initial Moog synthesizer was a brand new instrument. The Mellotron, John Lennon used it on Strawberry Fields. These were just new sounds that were fantastic. Zero issue did I have with the instruments. Where I started having issue was when you can sequence these things, and MIDI became part of the world, where you could play something very, very poorly on the piano, go onto the computer, correct the notes, change the tempo, all these velocities that you can kind of mess about with. I didn't want to do that. Back in the day, you record on 2-inch tape, punch me in, play, punch me out. We're not fixing the note. We're not fixing the pitch. Singers, there was no auto-tune. Drummers had to learn to play the drums in time. Choirs, so, all this stuff. I mean, the organic sound of the instrument, albeit, the drums, a bass, a piano, the human voice on 2-inch tape, that's what you had. And I will argue forever that, I think that players were better back then in some regards. Ensemble players, recording, session musicians, you didn't have a chance to do it 42 times. That's it once. I remember doing a ton of film and TV work in New York City over the years, and being in a room with an entire orchestra and a conductor, and he raised the baton. It's just like, here we go. I better nail this one, because there's no overdubs. That's the environment that I grew up in. You follow me? Nowadays, you get a kid with a laptop who could do an entire thing on the laptop. Good for you, but I don't know. Yeah, it's different.
That, from time to time, I'll speak at a school, a film class or whatever, and I will always take my old Bell & Howell 16 millimeter camera with a turret and lens, and I'll pass that around. Of course, that thing weighs, I don't know, 20 pounds or something. And I will tell these kids, I'll say, when I was your age, I had to load in a spool of film that could contain about 2.5 minutes of content or film. Mm-hmm. And I had to map out what I was going to shoot in my mind. I had to use my mind because, and I could probably do one take because it was so expensive. So you had to figure out how to tell a story in your head in 2.5 minutes. Now, of course, and I say, they were like, oh my gosh, what happens when we do all this for nobody ever sees? And it's so hard. I go, so hard. You pick this thing up. You can do high def. You can do 47 million takes. You can. By the way, that film you had to take back. You had to develop it.
I developed,
and then you had to put it on the telecine, the reels, and you had to edit with a razor blade, right? And cement to put the film together. And now you can do whatever you want on this. You can have worldwide distribution on YouTube.
It's crazy. Listen, no different than my side of the fence. You know, there's a big, back on the old, you know, Ampex machine, there was a block with different angles. There.
Yeah.
And you took a razor blade and you're cutting tape.
Yeah.
You mark it. We had a wax mark, you mark it. Here we go, slice, and you're not undoing that. You know, there's no redo. There's no go back. You know, and then you cut another section of the song out, you paste these things together, and there it was. You know, it's a different work. Listen, in some ways, it's really interesting, you know, how we record these days, you know, but I will always be like, you're not fixing what I did. I will play it correctly, hopefully within the first 1 or 2, maybe 3 times. You know, you're not going to move my guitar parts, my rhythm parts around, because I pride myself in having really good time, and I'm going to play where it feels. I don't really want a click track, you know. I don't want it. I want the music to breathe. I want the music to be the alive art form that it really is. So don't quantize it. Don't auto-tune it. Let it be what it is. Like, I took my wife and my mother-in-law and her aunt to see Gladys Knight, Patti LaBelle, and Shaka Khan the other night at the Prudential Center in New Jersey. 81 years old these women are. You know, I grew up, they are the soundtrack to my life as a kid in the 60s listening to Motown. Killing it. Up there, looking beautiful, singing like it's, you know, 1968 all over again. You know, that's, you know, and it made me excited. And I just, you know, it was part of the whole energy of the evening. Just fantastic.
And you brought 2-inch tape. Boy, there was nothing like analog. There was nothing. It was the warmest sound.
Sounds better.
Yeah.
Sounds even the desks, you know, the mixing consoles. To me, again, it's like anything else. You know, you're born into what you're born into. So when I first sat behind Rupert Neve console, and it was all analog and these 1067 EQ strips and all the stuff going to, you know, a Studer or whatever machine it was. This sounds killer. And then, you know, it took me a minute to get used to an SSL. Again, it took me a little while to get used to, you know, being recorded on Pro Tools.
Right.
You know, and it is what it is. That's just your standard now. You can't get somebody to repair a 2-inch machine, never mind, you know, somebody who can operate. So, and then to be honest with you, you know, you and I will listen to music on a record, on probably a really good stereo, sitting down, you know, listening to whatever it is that we were listening to back then. Now people listen to music on their phone.
Yeah. Well, it's you know, I'd rather watch. I'd rather sit on my back porch, have a cigar and a glass of wine, and watch a movie on this than go into a theater. Tell you the truth, you know. So
certain advantages now. You don't have to leave the house.
Yeah, exactly. I know. So you know, okay, we're talking about things like we've been around since 1920.
Yeah, we have. Collectively, probably.
But you know, the cool thing about that is that when you've been around, you really do treasure things that really gel and things that really become a part of America and a part of Americana. And that's something that you have done with TSO over the years. I mean, you really have become a big part of the holiday season with the Trans-Siberian Orchestra, and you become a part of you know, when you put on Burl Ives and Hill Burl Ives or Bing Crosby, you think of Christmas, and when you have TSO, you know, out and about throughout the country touring with your incredible show, you really have become a part of Christmas.
Well, brother, thank you so much for saying so. It really is the oddest thing to sit down and contemplate that. You know, like, I don't think about it too often, but when we have conversations regarding it, I'm flattered, I'm honored, I don't want to use the word terrified, but I think I'm obligated to make sure that every tour is better than the previous one because of what you just said. You know, like, I was a kid, Burl Ives' voice on Rudolph or Charlie Brown's Christmas or Miracle on 34th Street. I'm watching the exact same film.
Yeah.
For 50-something, 60 years, however long it's been that I've been watching these things, you know. Whatever it is, that art form is being replicated in the same exact manner. It's not being changed. Right. So the thing is that they're the people that I affectionately refer to that see us year after year, I call them the repeat offenders, okay? They want a portion of that familiarity intact at all times.
Right.
I feel that I'm obliged to them. I'm obliged to Paul O'Neill. I'm obliged to myself as an artist. The folks in the audience, the listeners, the people who've been talking about it, I want to give them something special and different every year. So it's constantly vacillating on either side of this very fine line to, okay, I want to give them their story, their tradition, but I also want to keep them on their heels the whole time so they have so much fun. So every year is a little bit better and a little bit different. And this year is completely different.
You know, that's really a good thought, because I know just our radio stations that the programmers that we work with, they talk about the importance of, the artists, they come out with their new things and so forth, but the audience, they just crave that nostalgia. They just can't wait to hear these songs year after year. And to think that my kids are in their 20s now, but to think that they just can't wait to hear these songs that you and I grew up with.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. This has got to be literally the only part of the music business where we enjoy the same music that our kids enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, seriously. I mean, I realize that there are those unique entertainers that sort of cross over multi-generations, but they're few and far between, because I can tell you, I don't know 90% of what my daughters listen to right now. I don't identify with it. That's just me, and I think most people would be like, I never thought I'd be here to say, boy, back in my day, but it sort of is a little bit like that. But when it comes to Christmas music, I mean, and I bring this up because you guys have really become a part of that club, so to speak, and that's good. That's just got to mean a whole lot to you, and you really are the you're you and your team, man, you really watch over this thing and you protect it like a hawk and make sure that the audience is getting what they expect.
Yeah, listen, it's like having a child, and we probably chatted about this, over the years together. If Paul O'Neill is Trans-Siberian Orchestra's father, if you will, I'm either the weird uncle, And I protect this thing. I love this thing. I will nurture this thing. I will protect this thing like it's, figuratively speaking, like one of my children. I don't care. It's going to be 31 years old this coming February since I recorded the opening notes to that song. 31, 51, doesn't matter. My oldest son is 38 years old. I will hug him and kiss him and tell him I love him every opportunity I have, because he's still my baby boy. That never changes as a parent. I watched this thing open its eyes years ago with zero expectations other than, dude, this is awesome. This really sounds amazing. What a powerful piece of music. And here we are 3 decades later talking about, what we had almost 21 million tickets sold last year. What an incredible honor. Like I said, I'm flattered, but what an enormous responsibility is to keep this in check and remind myself every year, okay, last year's in the can. We did great. I want it better this year. I want it stronger. I want it even a little slicker. I want to surprise people. And, keep them with the nostalgia portion. They want to hear the songs that they want to hear. They want to hear the poetry. They came to hear Philip recite, okay? They came to see some of the people on stage that they've grown familiar with over the decades. I know half the people in the audience. Not many people can say that when you got 13,000 people there, A lot of these folks have been coming since 1999 when we did our first run of shows, So I'm flattered that when people say, a top-selling Christmas act, the song is like like one of the top 4 or 5 requested Christmas songs of all time. People get married to the Christmas canon. You know how many times I'm playing that song in the show? And here we go. Some guy grabs his girlfriend, drops to a knee in front of the stage in front of 14,000 people, and we're all playing, and we're going to go, she better say yes, dude, otherwise it's going to be a really long night for you. And everywhere I go, I hear people say it. I'm hearing this, and I'm thrilled. That's it's not even a musician's dream. I think that's just a dream on a different level of dreams for something like this to occur. I was happy, like you say, making good records. We sold a couple million records of this one, a couple million, nailed it, and I was good there. The fact that we're going on 31 years, 26 years of touring, constantly growing, constantly evolving. Like I said, I am proud of this thing like one of my own kids.
Yeah. Well, you should be. So let's talk about the theme this year, because I know you always come up with these unique themes. Yeah. First of all, let's talk about how you come up with the theme each year. Do you do this by committee? Do you wake up at 3 a.m. with an idea? How does it work?
Both. There's a lot of like walking around my house, before sunrise, scratching my head. What haven't we done? What really worked well a bunch of years ago? Ooh, should we repeat ourselves in certain ways this year? And then there's, the Zoom conference calls, nonstop, starting the second week of January, And it's like, okay, if we all agree, that means it's a really good idea, If we don't all agree, we're going to figure it out until we all agree, And it's a long process. Why we start, mid-January until I got my last conference call, I don't know, day or two, and then I take off to Omaha to implement all these things we've been talking about for 10 months, It's because everybody wants to do good work. Everybody in the organization wants to do a great job, the best job they can. We may have different vantage points on how that occurs. We may have different thoughts and ideas, but at the end of the day, everybody wants to do good. And right there, we win hands down. Nobody's kind of in there trying, I remember the old Jetsons with the Cogswell cogs and Spacely sprockets. Nobody's sabotaging any of that stuff. Everybody wants it to be great because we have a vision. We owe it to Paul O'Neill. We owe it to the audience. We owe it to ourselves. We owe it to the entire organization, the family. And we just want to do great work. And it's a really long process. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Constant conversations. And then when we get to Omaha for production rehearsals in a couple of days, then we're going to see, okay, all these conversations, what does it look like? What does it sound like? And we'll constantly tweak it, and we'll run the show in its entirety twice a day. I don't know, 20, 30 days, whatever that is, until we go, we got a show, dude. And the downbeat on opening night will be a perfect first show. And the downbeat at my last show, I think this year in Fargo, might be my 60th show. But it's their first show, and it's going to be a perfect first show for them. I won't have it any other way.
So you all, why Omaha? Why do you rehearse in Omaha?
We had a day or two off there, I'm going to say probably about 18 years ago. Don't remember ever spending much time over the years. Excuse me. In Omaha, but had 2 days off. Sorry. Walked out of the hotel, asked the guy, you recommend a good restaurant? He's like, just keep walking straight until you run into Sullivan's Steakhouse. All right. Probably one of the best steaks I've ever had in my life. A couple good bottles of wine, great hotel, beautiful town, fantastic. Got to sound check, and the venue is one of the few venues in the entire country that, and I don't know why they did this, but the engineers who built the place, built the structure where it could hold 2 or 3 times more weight in the ceilings than every other arena in America. Now, we have 2 bands. Prior to this, we were rehearsing at the Lakeland Civic Center, but we couldn't hang any of the production. It would not accommodate the production for both bands simultaneously. This place, just over the river from Omaha, in what's called Council Bluffs, the Mid-America Center, for some reason can hang both productions simultaneously. And it puts us smack dab in the middle of the country. So my second show, I can go wherever I want. When we were down in Lakeland, Florida, it's kind of hard to get out of Florida. Oh, wow. I go 400 miles. I'm still in Florida. Yeah. So they kind of painted me into a corner that the opening of the tour was the same cities. Now I can do, I don't know, I can go from Omaha to Denver. I can go from Omaha to Salt Lake. I can go from Omaha to Des Moines, whatever. But I can definitely change up the routing.
Okay.
And it's been like, and the people, the community, it's great. I really get lit up for the tour when I land at the Omaha airport and I walk through, the baggage area. And it's like, wow, this is 18 and 19 years I've been doing this. Now it's time to get to work. Right. The folks at the hotel are fantastic. The folks at the venue are fantastic. All the people in all the different businesses in town. One of my dearest friends, one of my first boxing coaches, I met him. He's got a gym in Omaha, so I look forward to getting beat up every morning at 7 a.m. Yeah.
You say boxing?
Yes, sir.
So is this a side gig you have?
Oh God, no. I'm terrible. I love the art of boxing. It's a fascinating art form. I got into it years ago just because if I can't do something, I was like, wow, that's kind of cool. I'd like to learn how to do that. Really just, I mean, I've been doing it a long time. I'm okay. But what, it's like, if somebody's like says, I play a little bit of guitar. Well, then don't go ahead with Steve Vai. Like I enjoy boxing, but I'm never going to be a fighter. It's not my blood. And, these athletes dedicate their lives to one thing and one thing only. And I would never insult them by even considering myself a fighter. But I do enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. When you don't get punched, it's a lot of fun. When you get hit, it's kind of a bad day.
Yeah. So what is the theme this year?
The Ghosts of Christmas Eve. So that is a film we shot, I think, I'm going to say 1998. And like what you were kind of talking about earlier is how this has grown into a family tradition and something that's become part of like, what families do around the holiday seasons. Again, completely unbeknownst to me what it was going to turn out. We had done a couple of records that sold many, many millions of copies. And Paul said, I want to do a film. Fantastic. And we shot the film, The Ghost of Christmas Eve, which is kind of like Paul's favorite songs from the first 2 Christmas records. All right. And we filmed it. And within, I guess, that year, between the Hallmark Channel and PBS, it became like the film everybody was like turning on to watch. They fell in love with the story. Very Frank Capra-esque. It always has a happy ending, Paul's work. And all of a sudden, that became like the go-to movie, with like the ones we discussed earlier,
Yeah.
This year, we want to bring it to life. The advances in technology since the last time we performed this live, it's come so far that we're going to be able to do like incredible things this year with it. And people, there's something about this story that people really, really just kind of connect with. I don't know if I mentioned this to you last time we chatted, but Leonard Bernstein's quote regarding Beethoven was that Beethoven's art was so amazing because it was completely accessible, but never ordinary. And I think I mentioned that quote to you last year. And I carry that with me everywhere I go because in regards to Paul O'Neill's story, it's the same exact thing, completely accessible. Stories about everybody in the arena, but there's nothing ordinary about it, And everybody misses somebody. That's it.
That's true.
No matter you cannot get away from that one thing in life. There's an empty chair at the dining room table, starting with mine, that will never be filled, much more magnified to obvious around the holidays. And everybody misses somebody. Sometimes you can't help it. People have passed on from this world. Sometimes you lost touch with somebody because life can, whatever it is. But it doesn't eliminate that hole in your heart of missing someone, but at least you know that everybody else in this building is sharing in that sentiment or in that feeling, And it's not going to make it go away, but at least you're not alone. And I think loneliness is the worst part of that kind of hurt. And I always tell people, I'll say it until the day I move on, and leave this earth. I'd rather miss somebody than to have never had them in my life. I walk around in my heart, half the time I'm happy, half the time I'm sad because, my dad died years ago. My best friends have passed on, getting a little bit older, and this is it happens, but I've had them in my life. My boss, Paul O'Neill, 7 years ago. Wasn't ready to miss him yet, but I got no choice. You're not negotiating with this one.
Right. So there's a sense of,
So there is a sense of communal acceptance during Paul's story, because if you insert your circumstance into Paul's poetry or Paul's songs and Paul's characters, it's about you, And there's something very honest, and very vulnerable about that. And I think that's why people love this story. And what we're going to do visually with the whole thing is really just going to take it to a whole new level.
Yeah, the whole visual thing. I know last year when I came to the show, I was just from year to year, it's amazing the change in the technology. And you have people all over the place. That's the fun part. You don't know who's going to sneak up on you next.
And if you enjoyed it last year, my friend, I promise you that as soon as the curtain goes up, everything about the show looks different. Before we hit a downbeat, before we hit note one, I want to put everybody go, where is everybody? Yeah. And I want to continue that thought throughout the entirety of the concert. So musical selections we've never done before. We're actually tipping our hat to the Beethoven's Last Night collection this year for the first time ever in the Winter Tour, because we're celebrating the 25th anniversary of that. Moving people around, different things, showcasing the talents of some of these people. The keyboard players, the drummer in particular. You know, I want everybody to go, man, this band is crushing, but God, but they have a moment to shine. They're killing me, you know? Because, you know, I want to go a little bit over the top in certain areas, you know, I want to remind people why these, you know, men and women are on this stage.
And you've got some new cities this year, I see. The one thing I don't like is that you're not in Nashville this year. But the one thing I do like is that since I'm from Columbus, you're playing Columbus like right before Christmas, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's kind of cool. Well, listen, don't forget, Ohio is the epicenter of TSO touring. You know, it was, I think...
Really? I didn't know that.
Well, so we were selling millions and millions and millions of records, 96, 97, 98, 99. And WNCX in Cleveland, DJ there, dared Paul O'Neill to do a show in Cleveland. He thinks we could do really good business. So what you don't do is dare Paul, ever. You know, so, you know, and so we did the shows, and I think we had one show booked, it sold out in like literally minutes. Booked the second one, that one sold out. Booked the third one, but we had to go to a different venue because the venue wasn't available. You know, so Ohio is a very, very, very special place to us. And I know that the band 9 times out of 10 is in Columbus for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, and then the big show on either side of it. So fantastic place.
Well, that's where I'll be seeing you this year. I can't wait. And how do you decide from year to year which cities to go to?
I have absolutely nothing to do with that. I know that there's certain cities that we've been going through forever. The routing in order to put this show together, our managers have been working probably since September, looking at the 25? They're already booking next year's show because of the availabilities of the buildings. Meaning the buildings basically belong to the hockey team or the basketball team in the city. Okay, their schedule comes first. Now, we have to kind of go, okay, if I'm in Houston, or do I go to Dallas next, or can I go to San Antonio next? Is the building available? And so the routing will change. I mean, it's really like a big, you know, puzzle putting that together. I'm amazed at how they do this. Sometimes it's like, okay, well, we're playing here. I can't get to that city, so we're not going to do San Diego this year. Let's do Bakersfield and Anaheim. Oh, those buildings are available. Or I can't get to so-and-so, so we're going to go to Fargo. You know, and it just, you know, radio stations or the promoters will say, hey, you know, you guys haven't been here in a bunch of years, like Little Rock, Arkansas, and those back on this year's itinerary. I love Little Rock. You know, sometimes we can get there. Sometimes, okay, the routing's not taking us, you know, I have to be within 300 or 400 miles to get there.
How's the how many semis do you have for a year?
Last year was 21 for each band, and full of buses.
Unbelievable. Well, and explain to the audience what you mean by each band, because you've actually got two shows on the road at the same time, right?
Yeah. So 99, we had our first tour, like I had mentioned, 7 cities. Fantastic. 1 24-foot box truck, 2 buses, and a fog machine. And we thought we won back then. It was like, dude, this is awesome, you know? And the following year, you know, Paul said, we have an issue. I'm like, all right, what's up? And he goes, well, now it was so successful, the promoters all over the country want a show. I'm like, that's cool. He goes, yeah, but I can't get a band from Boston to Cleveland to Seattle to San Antonio to Miami to Washington, D.C. It's a physical impossibility. I said, okay, here we go. Unprecedented situation number 13 with this organization, right? He goes, I'm going to keep part of this band, put them in the 13 colonies. You put a whole nother band together and you do the rest of the country. Really? So what do? Call up whoever I knew from the old club days in New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. Hey, what are you doing? Good. I got something. Come on. And you put a band together. And so it became, they call it the East and West. It's not really that. It's like, you know, the East Band is in the Northeast, and I have everything from Chicago to Seattle to Southern California through Texas, through Florida and back, you know. And it was fun, but we have a lot in driving. And so that grew up, and it was like, okay, this is terrific. Now we got 2 bands. Remember, it's kind of the original band just split into 2, you know? So it's identical looking. It's hard to say identical sounding because each band has its own little character and thing about it. And then the next thing that occurs, he calls you up in 2004. He goes, hey, you sold out in Salt Lake City. Excellent. He goes, yeah, they want a second show. I'm like, how are we going to do that? He's like, how about do it at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on the same day? Huh? You know, like when the dog looks at you and it doesn't really understand what's going on. And, you know, what do? You say, okay, you got us this far, boss. Absolutely. You want to do a rock show at 3 in the afternoon and another one at 8 o'clock? I'm in. And here we are.
There you are. Wow. So how many total shows will you do this year with both bands combined?
I thought the number was 106 or 107.
Oh,
In like 45 days.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
But you know what? It is unbelievable if you start the conversation today. And if you go back to what we were just talking about, the thing has literally grown up from a fantastic musical idea in 1995 to a fantastic collection of records in the late 90s to a film to a very small tour. And here we are, my child or my nephew or niece, whatever, has grown up for 31 years and become something I never saw on the radar. You know, every year. And that's just, so, you know, people try to understand or say, how can you do it like this? How does your crew even begin to put this together? Because they've been with me for 25 years.
Yeah.
We have learned to do this by doing this, you know, and I will always sing the crew's praises because without them, there is no show. It's a physical impossibility for mere mortals to get this show up and running twice a day, drive 300, 400 miles and do it again the next morning. But they love it as much as I do, and they take the same amount of pride in their art and their craft. So, yeah, that's a lot.
Well, my friend, I love these conversations we have every year. Every year we have something, you know, I mean, I look forward to talking to you this year or each year at this time.
As do I.
There's just something about the chemistry we have together for the 45 minutes we spend together. But I really do appreciate you, and I appreciate your talent, and I appreciate everything that you bring to the Christmas season. I really do, and I appreciate your whole team. And I just want to thank you so much for being a part of this today. And for everybody watching this, you're going to hear Al co-host the radio show here in the next few weeks. So make sure you tune in for that on Keep the Faith, our sister radio show. So Al, I just want to thank you very much for stopping by and having a good time with me today.
Well, listen, you're very welcome. And again, thank you for having me. I enjoy our conversations greatly. And in closing for now, one of the things, and I'm not sure if Paul O'Neill saw on his horizon, was the relationships that would develop because of his art. And my relationship with you is very special to me, and I cherish it, and love and respect always, brother. I look forward to talking to you many more times over the years.
Thank you, my friend.
Love and respect.
And thanks again, Al. Thanks for taking time. Boy, I tell you, for Al, as busy as he is rehearsing for these shows right now, for him to take time to speak to me, that's miraculous in itself. And I love catching up with him each year. They've been a big supporter of our radio show, Keep the Faith, and I really, really appreciate that. And we're a big supporter of TSO. We love what they do every season, and it's a great show, great family show. So do go get your tickets now. You can go to TSOtickets.com. They're most likely playing in your city or near a city near you. I think he mentioned that they have over 100 shows this year between their two live event orchestras. So do check it out. The TSOtickets.com website is waiting for you right now. And by the way, if you want to have some fun, check out the new KeepTheFaith.com Christmas website at KeepTheFaith.com. There you're going to find a big celebration, a Christmas party going on. We couldn't wait to get the party started. You know, last year we started, I think, around Thanksgiving, and this year we just couldn't wait that long. So check out our website at KeepTheFaith.com, where you are going to discover the Christmas Wish channel from Keep the Faith Charities. Now, this is not your ordinary Christmas music channel. No, it isn't. It is so much better than anything that you get anywhere else, because we've got amazing stories. We have people stopping by that you're going to know that are co-hosting some of our shows. We have celebrations going on. We have parties and festivities. The really cool thing is this year we're making wishes come true for people in need. And you may be one of those people, or you may know of somebody who has a need, and please have them submit their Christmas wish at KeepTheFaith.com. The other thing is that if you want to help by making a donation so that we can grant more wishes, that would be really amazing. And all you have to do is hit the donate button right there at KeepTheFaith.com. And of course, if you'd like to listen to more of these podcasts, you can check out ContagiousInfluencers.com, where we have all of the podcasts that I've done over the past decade or so, right there at ContagiousInfluencers.com. And they're also on our YouTube channel, the KeepTheFaith.com YouTube channel. So please do that. And I want to encourage you this week to go out there and live that life in living color, because it sure is a heck of a lot more interesting than living it in black and white. Until next time, I'm David Sams. See you soon.